In this hour's cover story, the entire country waiting for the grand jury's decision on whether or not to indict Officer Darren Wilson for the shooting death of unarmed teenager Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri back in August. The police and FBI in Missouri and across the country are on high alert for any possible violence after that decision is announced. We want to welcome to the show via Skype former police officer Joe Serrano and Leslie McFadden, community activist and founder of the Ferguson National Response Network. This is going to be a very sensitive issue no matter what happens or what the grand jury decides. Social media comments moving along the bottom of your screen right now. One viewer, Cash to Seller, tweets, "Not shop for shoplifting, and you know it. If not, educate yourself about the facts." And Ebony writes, "We want to feel that justice is served and we are protected from Darren Wilson." Joe, let's start with you. Do you think the grand jury should indict the officer?
If they have the proper facts to indict the officer, then I would agree with it. If they have the proper facts to do so. However, if it's not there, if the evidence doesn't indicate that he was at fault, then they should, remedy a decision that's in his favor.
Leslie, your comments.
I would certainly agree with that. I would add that I think that the facts as they are been presented to the public and certainly information we have would lead me personally to conclude that I hope for an indictment.
All right, let's get your reactions to this comment. This tweet states, "Stop making excuses for the criminal and teach your children to not break the law instead of blaming an officer who enforces the law." Leslie, let's start with you on your reaction to that comment.
I guess my reaction would be, though we talk about breaking the law, that does not conclude with loss of life. So I don't buy into this idea of all crime is warranted by an extrajudicial killing.
And Joe, do you want to add to that?
I do. First of all, I somewhat agree with that comment, but there is a problem with the children that do or are raised by good parents is they don't learn the justice system. It's not taught in elementary. It's not taught in middle school or high school. It's not taught until they make a decision to go to college and learn how the judicial process works. So part of that is society's fault.
And sometimes it's taught in real life, and we have unfortunate situations that come as a result of that, right?
That's correct, but to what degree? I teach my kids to do right and live right, but if one of them should steal a car, I didn't teach them not to do that. It just wasn't part of my element of raising my children.
Got it. There are several protests planned across the country after the announcements made, including right here in Philadelphia. There are flyers like this one going around that say, "Bleep the police, no peace in these streets with police in these streets." This one's planned at Broad and Cecil B. Moore at 4 p.m. the day after the verdict. Is this going too far? Your final thoughts on that, Joe?
I'm not quite sure that it's going too far if it's peaceful. I'm not quite sure what their intent is, but if there's threats of anarchy or threats against police officers, then it is going too far. If they're peaceful demonstrations and they're organized and they want to get their point across, they'll have police services that'll help them execute what they're trying to do. But if they're intending to hurt police officers, then by all means, police officers have to react accordingly.
Leslie, I saw you nodding at some points during Joe's comments. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I definitely agree that the protests that are planned are intended to be peaceful and for citizens to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights and their rights to assemble. There's never been a call for violence against police. There's been no violence against police in Ferguson over the last 104 days. So that fear is pretty just not justified. The only individuals that have been harmed during this period were the protesters themselves.
Joe, Leslie, thank you both for your perspective on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Leslie.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Joe.
And it's a weighty issue. Of course, everyone has an opinion. If you have something to say, you can head over to our social media sites and use our hashtag Fox29Weekend.